Well, this week's all been really about Lady Beckham. That's right, Lady Victoria Beckham. And what's fascinating really is the insight that we found about, of course, the former pop princess, the posh spice of the Spice Girls of the 90s. Can you believe how long ago it is, chums? Absolutely. Well, Lady Victoria Beckham was celebrating a wonderful stance out in New York City. Yes, the same New York City that, of course, the Duchess of Sussex thought she was going to take by storm. But things took a little sort of, how shall we say, a twist, to put it mildly. As ever, let me explain. Morning, nice to see you, chums. Thank you so much for your time. Lovely to have your company again today. Hope you're keeping well. And thank you, by the way, for all your comments regarding my camera issues, to be blunt. We can share this, we're friends, you know what it's like. You know, goodness, as I told you, you let somebody look at your phone, suddenly they've turned everything off, moved everything around. And as somebody pointed out, Neil, you look a bit fuzzy, or have you got a mucky lens? I think that particular person must be from my neck of the woods, the north of England. Mucky lens means there's some marks on the lens. Maybe we need to put text underneath for those that don't understand that particular language. But nonetheless, I think I may have sorted it out now. But you know what it's like? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Who sorts your digital stuff out? Have you learned it online? Can you follow the videos, or can you not? Are you like me, keep stop-starting, and in the end you just think somebody will have to help me? Be honest, let us know in the comments, I'd love to know. This particular lady was very honest out in New York City, Lady Victoria Beckham. And the reason why, of course, she's out there because of her glittering success with her Netflix documentary, following on from, of course, the success of her husband's documentary. Now, this is the world we live in, isn't it? You know, peek behind the scenes, that sort of stuff. And I mentioned many months back now that actually this idea, when you think about this, really came around in the 60s. And we have people like the former Hollywood sex bomb, Jane Mansfield, to thank for that. She was one of the very first sort of Hollywood stars to come up with the idea of filming her life over a period of months. After her sad demise at aged only 34 in 1967, it came out with her parts being voiced over, simply because she didn't finish it. It was called The Wild, Wild World of Jane Mansfield, and it basically had her in miniskirts dancing around in Rome and all sorts of stuff. But it was the early premise of reality TV. Everybody likes to peek into others' lives, right? Interesting this though, because out in New York City, as I say, Lady V was being interviewed on stage, and this was a glittering event hosted by none other than Vogue magazine. These are all the things, as I've pointed out, that Meghan Markle would have loved to have had in her cachet. Now, what's interesting about this, and this is the point I think where you understand about fashion. As you know, Meghan Markle recently pointed out that she would like to move into the world of fashion, and she felt that most people in fact saw her as a fashion icon, or indeed beauty. And you know, I mean, you can see the fact that she's trying to push this now new narrative with the blurry pictures of her putting on some lipstick, and you know, there's no brands on those particular makeup things. Everything's there for a reason, right? 100%. However, Victoria Beckham was very gracious and pointed out one particular thing. Her business was struggling, she said, for a long, long time, until the arrival of Catherine, Princess of Wales, or then the Duchess of Cambridge. And she said in the chat that, well, the bottom line was the moment Catherine wore one of her designs, everybody suddenly took an interest. She said, and that particular piece sold out. Not only that, as we know recently, in fact in the last week, at a charitable event, Catherine turned up wearing a power suit from the Victoria Beckham range, and this is not the first time. And this is the great thing about what Catherine can do for British fashion, London Fashion Week, fashion around the world. She puts on the outfit and people are interested, clicking on, look at the price. I'm not saying they're instantly going to sell out because they're not exactly cheap, but it sort of gets eyeballs, it's interesting. And it was fascinating to hear Victoria Beckham say that really, without Catherine, it still would have been struggling. And she said each time she meets her, she points that out. Catherine, bashful as ever, says, oh, it's not down to me, you know, you're a good designer, don't, you know. But, you know, Lady V said, no, truly, this was the starting point. And what's interesting about this is you go over to the other side of Meghan Sussex, and of course Lady Victoria Beckham has worked long and hard to put that fashion range together. Can you imagine Meghan Markle, who allegedly white labels pots of jam as her own? Again, I have to say allegedly. Can you imagine her putting this level of work in many, many years before Lady V's got to this particular point? And as she pointed out, without Catherine, she simply wouldn't have got there. Neil Sean in the very heart of the United Kingdom.